Hey, what's up guys? My name's Nexium and welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into some of the most chilling Skinwalker encounters people have shared on Reddit. These stories come from all over the country and every single one of them gave me goosebumps. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe because I make a lot of these videos and you do not want to miss them. But with that out of the way, let's get right into it. I'm not one to post these kind of things. I mostly just have Reddit to look at bugs and read about roommate drama. But I had an experience in the woods one night, almost 10 years ago, that got brought up recently and thought I'd share here. I, F16 at the time, snuck out of the house to go smoke weed in Lynn Woods at about 3 a.m. It's not a huge sector of woods, just a wee reservation smack dab in the middle of the Boston suburbs surrounding the local reservoir. I got to the entrance of the trail, parked my car, and made my way to the campsites, about a 5-minute walk, where there were fire pits available. It was a popular smoking area for teenagers, and I was one of them. I set up to draw by the fire I had made and begin to roll a joint. As I was rolling up, I had heard something on 4 legs come up from behind me. I didn't sweat it that much because where I'm from, the worst I could be was probably a coyote. But then you could hear it transition into 2 legs and walk with a bipedal gait. That confused me. Then everything went fucking silent. No crickets, no birds, nothing. The only thing I could hear at that point was the crackling of the fire and my own breathing. Then I became really concerned, like something bad was about to happen. I call out, thinking maybe it was just a homeless dude working up the courage to ask me for some food or some money, since it was a city after all. I say hello and ask if anyone's there. Silent still, for about a minute. Everything's telling me to run, but I stay because I thought if it was an animal trying to hunt me, I should stand my ground and make myself appear I'm not worth the risk. Then whatever it was, it talked. It sounded almost like a parrot mimicking its owner's voice, and it asked to bum a light. "Can I bum a light?" it said. At first I'm relieved because at least I know it's not an animal, but the way it spoke was truly uncanny. I said, "Sure, but you have to come out where I can see you. You're giving me the creeps, dude." And then it asked again and again, 3 times. Then I was really freaked and knew something was really wrong. I then told it to fuck off and find someone else to ask if he was going to be creepy about it. Then it ran off on all 4s. You could hear all 4 feet hitting the ground as it ran away. The crickets came back. The night birds started to chirp again, and the air even felt warmer. That feeling of dread washed over me, and I knew I had to fucking book it. I calmly pack all my stuff back up, put out the fire, and make my way back down the trail to my car. I wanted to run, but part of me still believed it was just a dude trying to get creepy with a 16-year-old girl in the woods by herself. And if I played it cool and acted like I wasn't scared, maybe he'd back off. My mother always taught me to make a scene in that scenario, and I was prepared to knife whatever came at me. I also thought maybe if it was an animal, I wouldn't trigger its hunting instincts if I just walked instead of ran. But man, every hair on the back of my neck was standing up. That feeling of being watched is definitely real. I finally see my car about 200 feet ahead of me. I feel safe again, but I'm still on alert. I feel secure enough to look behind me, and sure enough, maybe 40 feet behind me, is a male deer on its hind legs in the middle of the trail. I fucking freak. I've never heard of a skinwalker, never believed in anything like them at the time, never even knew what they were. But I knew something about that image was seriously wrong, and I lost my composure and booked it to my car. I made it back no problem and drove off before I could even turn my headlights on. To this day, I'm 24, about to turn 25. I have never been back to those woods, or really any woods for that matter. I'm definitely afraid of nature now, which sucks. The very idea of spending a night in them makes me so anxious, I feel nauseous. It wasn't until years later when I fell into a YouTube rabbit hole in college, when you just pick one video suggested on your recommended page and let autoplay take you wherever, that I stumbled on a video that describes skinwalkers and alleged experiences people have had with them in the woods, that I truly began to understand what I may have encountered that night. This shit is real. I don't know if they're as aggressive or dangerous as people make them out to be in the stories I've seen online, because in my experience, it seemed pretty curious and backed off when I confronted it, still thinking it was just a creepy dude looking to score. But to this day, thinking about it makes me shudder and I get a pit in my stomach. I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts on this. I'd love to have this debunked even. I love those woods and sort of want it to just have been a weird dude, but I've heard some weird, very similar stories from the locals about those woods, and now I don't know what to think. What unsettles me about this one is how casually it tried to blend in, just asking a bum a light like it was totally normal, and then running off on all fours after. That image alone would haunt me forever. All right, let's get into the next one. This happened to me 8 years ago, but surely something I'll always remember. My grandfather had made it clear that I should never talk about what we've experienced, and I should just forget it ever happened. But I feel like I won't ever let go of this memory if I wouldn't be able to release it. So anyways, I was 11 at the time. It was summer, and usually we visit our vacation house, which I'd say is pretty secluded. We don't have any close neighbors, and the house is literally in the middle of the woods. I never disliked going there, as it's close to a river with a waterfall. Which, by the way, looks straight up from the Garden of Eve. My parents let me to stay in the house with my grandpa, as my mom and dad has a business trip. But I remember them promising they'll follow as soon as they get back from their trip. My grandpa picked me up around 2 p.m. in the afternoon. The drive was around 3 hours. Evening arrived and we're just halfway through. Because of a major car crash, we were stuck in the traffic for a long time. We almost finished 10 radio dramas while waiting through the traffic. We were finally driving up the mountains, which means we're close home. But the road is insanely dark and covered in trees. There were some parts of the road where it looked like we were driving through tunnels, as the trees' branches were covering the sky. Then a loud thud broke the silence between the two of us. My grandpa had hit a big rock that was sitting in the middle of the road, like someone intentionally put it there to cause inconvenience. This caused the car to smoke, and it turns out that our clutch overheated. My grandpa decided that we spend the night in the car as he was very tired and he's not very good at driving in the dark. I was also really tired, so I was ready to fall asleep. My grandpa said that he'll get his pillow and flashlight at the compartment of the car. I was listening to him move and arrange our stuff, and then I fell asleep. I wasn't sure how long have I been sleeping, but I got woken up from a sound of scratching under the car. Like someone has a rock and was writing something under the car. I was 100% sure that I'm going to forget it and just sleep in. But as I wander my eyes, I saw one small dash of light in this dark-ass road. It was my grandpa facing a tree, pointing his flashlight in the total black of nothingness. I thought he also heard that scratching sound and he was looking for it. I was about to get out the car and call him to get back in the car because I'm scared shitless. But suddenly I noticed that his neck is unusually long and has a patch of hair running through his whole neck. I knew something fucked up was going on, so I started observing and looking around the car. I panicked, and there I see my grandpa, covered in blankets, sleeping at the back of the car. I quickly woke him up and told him what I saw. He quickly dismissed it, saying that maybe I was just dreaming or I was just tired. But I knew he was also scared from what I just told him, and he tried to stay calm so I wouldn't panic. Just a few minutes later, the scratches were back, and it got louder, and there were also thudding under the car, like someone is smashing their hands under the car. I was panicking. My eyes were filled with tears, where my vision were all blurry and my head hurting from all the anxiety. My grandpa heard all of it. This time he was awake and more alert. He said there might be squirrels or rabbits under the car, and he'll go check it, which I quickly opposed as I seen this stuff on horror movies and it never goes well. And I was also so scared to be left in that car. As soon as he opened the door, the flashlight, where whatever that thing I saw in the woods, lit. I was so fucking scared. It was laying on the floor. The light was facing our car. Then I heard the scariest sound I ever heard in my life. It was my mom's voice singing. But we both knew that whatever that thing isn't my mama. The voice sounded disgusting and distorted. The voice was stringy and it sounds like it was pretending and trying to imitate human language. The voice lasted for a minute, and the last part sounded so terrifying as it sounds like it's shrieking from pain, but almost like laughing at the same time. He closed the door, locked all of it, and sat in the driver's seat. He was shaking. We shared an eye contact. He was so pale and looked so fucking terrified. We were both sitting in pure fear and silence, as the radio signal isn't that clear around that area. That night, we drove back home and always told me to forget everything that happened and pray every night. This one genuinely got to me. The moment he realized his grandpa was already asleep in the back of the car while something outside was wearing his face, I felt that panic through the screen. And the voice imitating his mom is what really pushed it over the edge for me. The fact that his grandpa, a grown man, locked the doors and drove away shaking without saying a word tells you everything you need to know about how real that was. I live in a small town in Oregon, which I will not tell which town just because of privacy, but I usually do my regular thing. Go to school, play basketball, skateboard, the usual angst teenage things a kid would do when they are bored. But today was different. I was getting off my bus on a Friday night, so I was going to stay out pretty late with my friends to go skate and go to the store, and probably get kicked out. But before that, I went to the Minute Market. I go to that Minute Market almost every day and know every worker by name. But today, there was a new worker. He was a tall, lanky guy with a really curly long beard that almost nearly reached his waist, with a weird scar on his arm that I couldn't point to any animal I've seen or encountered myself. So I went to the back of the store, grabbed my drink and snacks, and rang them up at about $5 exactly. The guy didn't say much besides, "Is that all?" and "Have a good day." But right before I grabbed my board and was about to leave, I heard him mutter something to himself, and I asked, "What?" He just kept muttering to himself. So I assumed he was high or drunk because my town is known for addicts, but isn't as bad as Portland or Salem. I left and thought a little bit, but not much of it because I'm used to it at this point, living in this town almost my entire life, besides Portland and Bend for 2 years. But I looked behind me because I heard the door of the Minute Market open, although no one else was in the market, and I saw the same guy working, but his scar was gone, and he was staring at me. No one was around us, which was weird for the area because of the other stores in the driveway. And I jogged away trying to play it off, still thinking he was a druggie. And I kept jogging, but he just kept slowly following faster every time I looked away. It was like it or he got closer every time I looked away. I made it home, but my mom gets home around 6, while my dad gets home at 9:30, and I got home around 4:30, so I did my usual with a little more caution. So I unlocked my door, closed it, and locked all 3 locks on my door and set down my backpack to do my chores until I got a knock on my door. I went into my sister's room, which has a good view of the door, but people can't see the window. And when I looked, I audibly gasped. It was the same man from the Minute Market, with the scar back but on both arms. So I rushed to lock every window, and I did, while grabbing every weapon I could find while slowly setting a chair under the doorknob. The more I did these things, the more aggressive the knocks got. It was like the knocks were everywhere. I didn't call 911, I should have, but I called my grandma. I come from a Native American family, and she was a very religious woman and had her own experiences with this. What she told me almost made me hang up. She said, "It knows your scent, voice, weight, height, and where you live. The only way you can get through this is to burn sage and ashes around the house or on the walls inside the house." I did the second option because I couldn't get outside for obvious reasons. What happened next almost made me pass out. It started to cut itself using my voice saying the exact order I placed for my snacks. "Can I get peanut butter M&Ms and this energy drink, please?" I know it sounds funny, but trust me when I say this, it didn't sound like it was ordering or anything. It sounded like a deaf person screaming, barely knowing what they were saying. I burned the sage as quick as I could and ash and surrounded my walls with it. After about 10 minutes, the thing left and hasn't come back yet, but it's only been one day. I will keep you updated on what happens next. I've seen the guy around, but he's different. No scare, no nothing. Totally average guy and shaved his beard. But there have been random deer heads in my backyard and deer staring at me through my window. It's terrifying because this morning I woke up to the sound of something in my room falling and hearing 3 noises under my bed. Even today I had one of my skateboards fall off my skate rack, which is hooked to the wall, and what's confusing, I suspect something is going to happen soon and we'll put a new update soon. Nothing too weird has been happening besides a deer in my local park that kind of followed me. I have no idea really, but I think it has stopped, but I'm not sure. Hi everyone. I'm shaking and panicking uncontrollably. So this started happening about 4 hours ago, and I finally gotten home, so I want to write what happened while it's still fresh. To give a complete rundown, I live in Ontario, Canada, close to Toronto. I heard on the news that tonight there would be a chance to see the Northern Lights again. This past May, I went and saw them and wanted to take the opportunity to see them again. Last May, I went with a couple buddies, but no one was available this time. The plan was to drive 4 hours to Algonquin Park, hike in middle of the forest, make a campfire, smoke some Marlboros, and drive back after stargazing. I end up driving about 2 hours there before my friend sends me a text showing there's no real forecast for the Northern Lights, so I decided to go up anyway and stargaze, a hobby of mine. I drive up another hour, and at this point it's about 11 p.m. in the middle of nowhere. No signs of humans other than the road in the pitch black. I was on a call with my buddy since it was pretty boring driving up, and I started mentioning how beautiful the stars looked. My buddy then recommended that I pull over and take some pictures to send. I end up pulling over, turning off all the lights in my car while leaving it running, and standing beside the forest. For about 5 minutes, everything was fine as I was admiring the stars, gushing to him about it. Right about that time, the forest went completely quiet. There was literally zero sound other than the wind and the trees. I immediately felt like something was wrong and went to grab my flashlight to see if there was a bear or something. I walk a little bit into the woods and turn on my flashlight. I end up hearing a rustling noise and turn around until I see this thing
standing on its hind legs with a bright orange-red glow to its eyes. It was about 50 meters away. I start mentioning what I'm seeing to my buddy when all of a sudden my signal goes dead before I stare at it for a second until it starts sprinting at me at full speed. I immediately go into fight or flight and dash to my car, going in and redlining it until I'm doing 300 kilometers per hour.
I'm usually a pretty casual guy and not spooked by much, but I was shaking, crying, sobbing, and trying to run away as fast as I could. Before anyone says anything, it wasn't a bear or anything similar. I start spam calling everyone and anyone I can until I get a hold of my best friend and start crying and sobbing about what happened while freaking out. At this point, he just wants to check in to see if I'm okay and whatnot. I start describing to him what I saw and use the name of the subreddit, I don't want to say it even in text, to describe what I saw. It was this super unnatural looking thing, and it had really spooked me. Right around here is when I feel all the muscles in my body start becoming sore and cramping up. It turned out when I had initially dashed to my car, I basically output all the force I could to get away. I'm an ex-rugby player / powerlifter, so my instincts were forcibly making me get out as fast as possible. After about 30 seconds of saying the name, I see the same figure on the side of the road following me with its head and glowing eyes. I proceed to hyperventilate and freak out more until he calms me down and tells me to get the fuck out of there. I start looking for a way to make a U-turn but couldn't find anything. At this point, I drive another 15 minutes before I can find somewhere to turn without stopping. I start to slow down and U-turn before I hear this ear-splitting screaming sound from my window before I gun it back the direction I came. I start freaking out more, telling my friend as everything was happening before I started getting a sinking feeling in my stomach that something was watching me. I start to look all over the empty roads and see nothing. All of a sudden, my signal goes out again, and I hear the screaming sound and see a kinda humanoid body in the fetal position on the side of the road. I then see its head look up and stare at me directly. I gun it again and can't get the goosebumps and sinking feeling to stop. I continue trying to contact everyone I can to no avail. I end up trying to calm myself down with my Kanye CD and hear something tapping my sunroof. I don't know how I knew, but I knew something wanted me to open the sunroof cover and look through. I prevailed and never looked, but never lost that sinking feeling that it was there. I would hear the tapping sound on and off, rhythmically, kind of like drums, until I reached a small town. At this point, I've gotten a hold of my friend and puked in my car. I'm just trying to get back as fast as possible, and he's telling me to describe Elden Ring lore to him to calm me down. After about an hour of paranoia, I stop crying and freaking out. I drive as fast as possible to get home, but I can't shake the feeling that they're still on me. I've locked all my doors and windows, and I'm still shaking like crazy. I don't know what to do, and I'm freaking out.
And that is going to wrap up today's video. Honestly, after reading all of these stories back to back, I don't know how anyone still feels comfortable going into the woods at night. Every single one of these people had a completely different experience in a completely different part of the country, but they all described the same things. The mimicked voices, the wrong eyes, that feeling right before it shows up, like something in the air just shifts. That consistency is what gets me the most. If you made it to the end, I love you for that. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe because I upload a lot of content like this and you are not going to want to miss the next one. Comment down below which story scared you the most because I genuinely want to know. And if you have had your own Skinwalker encounter or any strange experience in the woods, send it to my email in the bio. I might just feature it in a future video. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.